Hello, beautiful. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Christian. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Hello, Sacral Beauty. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast, where we focus on burnout recovery through the power of sacred pleasure. So welcome. Today we are diving into stage 10 of burnout. So if this is your first time tuning in, then welcome. I would love for you to tune into all of the other stages so that way you can figure out what stage of burnout you may be in. But if this one calls to you and resonates, then you've come to the right place. So there are 12 stages of burnout, and we are starting to get closer and closer towards the end. So throughout all those stages, we've become more disconnected from our bodies, we've become disconnected from our minds, and now in stage 10, we actually begin to become disconnected from our spirit. So this one can feel a little confusing because you can try to do everything under the sun and still feel like you can't really get back to yourself or get to a space of even connecting to God or meaning or purpose in life. So if that sounds like you, then definitely continue to listen because we're going to dive in and talk a little bit more about what inner emptiness really means, how this impacts your nervous system, your hormones, along with the root cause, as well as some small tips that you can start to apply that I share in my She Sacral community as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. So what is inner emptiness? You can begin to feel this very hollowed out feeling even after you've done rest, you've done therapy, you've done the healing work. It doesn't really seem like anything is really tapping in or waking up your body, waking up your spirit, waking up your system. You can feel spiritually dry, so no connection to joy, God, or meaning, or a sense of magic or purpose in your life, as I mentioned earlier. Your outer life may actually look fine or okay, but spiritually you can just feel a lot of energetic debt. You may have grief over your past self, even if you don't consciously name it. You could really be grieving who you used to be. And you may have apathy mixed with confusion. You may say to yourself, how did I even get here? It can almost feel like you've been teleported to the stage of burnout and you don't even know how this all happened. When we get to stage 9, we are moving into a space of protective dissociation. And we talked about depersonalization in stage 9, where we start to lose our identity. But here in stage 10, this is when we are reaching that spiritual disconnection. And so it's a little bit more than numbness. It's really feeling a loss of life force and longing and soul clarity. And I think it's important that we cover this because a lot of times we could just say to ourselves, I think I'm depressed. This feels like depression, but it's a little bit distinct because it's really a matter of being disconnected from yourself. And if you just kind of label this as, oh, I'm depressed, then it may actually lead you further away from yourself because we're not getting to the root cause of the issue. So let's talk a little bit about the root cause and how this can affect your nervous system. So chronic burnout can deplete your hypothalamus, which is your command center for regulating your hormones and your energy. This also affects your pituitary gland as well. And so the pituitary signaling can actually begin to falter. So this will affect your endocrine system, your thyroid, your adrenal glands, and your ovaries. That can actually cause for them to go dormant where they're not active anymore. So this can heavily impact your cycles. When it comes to your thyroid, this can impact your metabolism and weight loss or weight gain. It can also impact how much your temperature is regulated. When it comes to your adrenal glands, this can impact how much cortisol that your body is releasing or not releasing. So if your pituitary gland is getting impacted, that's really a big deal. We want to make sure that you're doing okay. This stage can also cause for your cortisol to flatline during the day, but spike at night. So you may run into insomnia, having vivid dreams, or experiencing spiritual anxiety. You can just feel like energetically something is not right, and it can feel very scary and disorienting. Your dopamine also will burn out, and that will cause for you to have that inability to feel that spark and to feel pleasure. And then again, going back to your thyroid, as well as estrogen starts to get suppressed as well. And you can experience a lot of brain fog, creative blocks, and also feeling spiritually foggy as well. So from an energetic standpoint, this can cause for your feminine energy to collapse instead of flowing. So if you find that it's really hard to really get into that feminine energy, to get into that feeling of being intuitive and resting and feeling magnetic, nurturing energy, softer energy, creative energy, if that feels very stunted, then that can be tied to this stage as well. And your system is actually going into a little bit of a shutdown, but more so from an emergency conservation. Your body's really trying its best to save itself as we get closer and closer towards full-on burnout. And so I want you to kind of reframe your thoughts around this. If you've been feeling lazy or feeling behind, it's not that. You are spiritually dehydrated. Your system is conserving those last little embers of light that you have for just what needs to be done. And your body's really craving for those needs to be met instead of just being managed. We want to really take this time to fully dive into ourselves and care for ourselves and to nurture ourselves 100%, not just like a little bit doing the bare minimum, but really pouring deeply into ourselves. And so if anything that I'm saying so far is resonating with you, if you've been feeling this at all, I would absolutely love to invite you to the She Sacral community, where it is a safe space for like-minded women that are also going through burnout to be able to support one another, as well as to get access to 30 days of pleasure rituals. If you're looking for more one-on-one deep support, that option is also there in the link down below. So now that we've done a little deep dive on how this impacts our nervous system and our hormones, let's talk a little bit more about how you may feel emotionally. And of course, this looks different for everyone, so whatever resonates, keep it. If not, let it go. But you may say to yourself that you feel like you've lost yourself and you don't know how you're ever going to find yourself again. If you've ever had any thoughts like that, like you don't even know what to do. You try to do the things that you used to do and it doesn't work. You try to do things that feel fun. You try to do all the self-care under the sun. You try to do everything, but you just can't get back to yourself again. You can even feel ashamed for being numb, even when life looks good. I think that's the troubling part, is maybe you've gone through the thing that was creating the burnout in the first place, but you still have the residual feeling afterwards. You still feel like you can't get out of it and nothing's going on that's stressing you out. Nothing is happening, but you still feel very lost. So it can be even more confusing. You may also just feel this deep ache, this deep achiness within yourself, but you can't pinpoint where it's coming from. But you know that you long for yourself, you miss yourself so deeply. And at this point, it's more of a soul level void or a sense of emptiness. A lot of times, those that experience this level of burnout are those that can tend to be healers or nurturers or spiritual creators who have given everything away. And now you're facing that void of having nothing left to give, even towards yourself. So let's start to shift how we're viewing the sense of emptiness and helping us to be able to pivot and come back home to ourselves. When we feel empty, we can feel absent, but it's really more of space that's being created to refill yourself again. Your feminine energy actually thrives in space. So this is more of kind of that dark womb chapter before your rebirth. We talked about the rebirth code in the Sacral Code series. So if you're interested in learning more about that, then definitely tune into that episode because it really does explain a lot more about when we're in the state of being reborn. It's not something that we're choosing to do. It's more of what life has put us through and how we've redefined ourselves in that process and then becoming our true new selves with the wisdom and the strength that we've gained throughout that process. And when we're in this stage, we may be conditioned to believe that we need to put in more effort. We need to continue to do more. We need to sign ourselves up to do more things. But it's really about being emotionally present. That's all that this stage is asking you to be. It's just calling for you to be energetically present during this time. It's not really asking for you to do anything, but for you to wake up. This is more of a chrysalis type of stage. Every level of burnout is an invitation for you to come back home, and it's just a little bit of a longer walk to get there. So let's talk a little bit about some things that you can start to do to bring yourself back home again. Heat therapy is really helpful when it comes to waking the body up. So if you want to take a warm bath or do some womb steaming, I know of a beautiful herbalist that has some very powerful womb steaming systems that you can use as well. Or even adding a nice little heating pad to your womb space or to your lower back that can signal to your body that it is safe for you to soften. You can also do some anointing practices where you can take some warm oil and anoint different areas of your body, such as your heart, your throat, your womb, your belly, and just anywhere that you are ready to wake up. These areas are really in the center of our bodies. So if you're just going down from the top of your head down to your womb, those are those different energy centers of your body that are really deeply connected to healing, right? Like we can't just focus on one arm or one leg because those are on sides of your body. We want to focus on the center area of your body. And in the pleasure rituals, you actually learn how to make some body oils and also a Cleopatra perfume oil that smells so good and actually just makes you feel like this deep goddess within. I absolutely love it. And just the scent of it wakes your body up as well. So this is really more of taking a slower pace with yourself, tuning in and doing things that are so gentle that it's not going to trigger any feeling of effort that you'll need to do. This is more of just caring and nurturing for your body. So before we close out, I want to share with you a little journal prompt that you can tune into today to help you shift your mindset if you're in this stage. And that prompt is, what does my spirit long for that I have silenced? What does my spirit long for that I have silenced? And also, if I could feel one thing again, what would I choose? If I could feel one thing again, what would I choose? Even if it's to feel sad. Sometimes we really want to cry, but we can't find the energy or the source to bring us to that state. Or maybe we've cried so much we're just exhausted. Whatever it is, what would you choose? All right, so we've covered a lot today when it comes to stage 10 of burnout. Up next, we're going to dive into stage 11, which is when we have actually reached full-blown depression, and it is the last stage before the final stage of burnout, which is full-on collapse. So if you feel that you're reaching those stages, if you know someone who is in that stage or reaching that stage, definitely be sure to tune into those episodes so we can begin to learn how to shift that energy. Thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the She Sacral podcast.